Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Juntos with Cathy. This is our weekly Facebook Live that we do here at the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. I am Cathy Rodriguez-Aguirre, President and CEO for the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And every week we bring in a business member, community leader, interesting people that are doing something that makes our community just a little bit better. And today I'm very excited because we're bringing in one of our chamber members. And as we hear her story, it'll be interesting because we actually met via Zoom. She has been coming to our networking events, engaging with us all the past year during this time frame when we couldn't meet in person. So last week was actually the first time we were able to meet at Gazpacho's for our monthly meetup that we have there. And it was interesting that we finally got to see each other in person after 15 months. And it occurred to me that, this is a really good story to hear. Like, how do you, as a business owner, do that networking and connections when you really can't physically meet? And how do you do the growth that you need for your business when we're all behind a screen? And Betsaida LeBron, who runs ImprovEQ, this is her own business, is going to tell us a little bit about what that's like, her story, a little bit of how she decided to combine all of this into a business, and just share a little bit about what this was all like. Hi, Betsaida, how are you?
Hi, Cathy. I'm good. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here too, for many reasons. So, for starters, Betsaida, you have ImprovEQ. It's your small business. And as I was just sharing with everyone who's watching us today, we actually met over Zoom, right? We decided what's now been 16, 17 months ago here at the chamber, we wanted to make sure that we still offered a connection for our businesses. So like a lot of people, we jumped into this world of Zoom and wanted to give everyone a place to meet up, every week, whoever wanted to come in to talking about their business. And one of those times you jumped in, and now here you've been with us now through the whole entire time. So for everyone's saying, what was that like? So you're doing your first networking, with us, but it's starting on screen.
Yeah, it was, honestly, it was really lovely. Like everyone was so kind and so nice. So that made it really easy. I think that was back right between like spring and summer of 2020, where I was realizing that, I had just started my business at the very beginning of 2020, like I think the end of 2019. Like really was like January, I'm gonna like really launch, full out. And, we all know what happened in 2020. So yeah, it was about the spring that I was like, oh, for me to keep doing what I want to do, like I have to make more connections in the community. And, and so I was looking around and not a lot of people were doing things. You were one of the few chambers that was even offering anything virtually. And so I was like, oh, I got to take advantage of this opportunity. And so it was really nice. It was easy. Just everyone got to kind of like just share just a quick little thing about themselves. And you always would bring guests that would share something that was valuable. And I don't know, it just seemed easy. Like sometimes you just feel like, oh, these are my people. Like, I'm so happy I found them. Like, here they are. So that's pretty much how it's been. And then I joined pretty soon after that.
That's so great to hear. Well, I'm glad that you found a welcoming place, to be. And I think that was exactly what we were trying to do, is we wanted to give people a safe place, connect and, still feel that they could talk about their business in any way, right? We know a lot of that time was a little stressful for people as they were trying to figure out next steps and what they were doing. And I think that was one of the reasons so many of our businesses gravitated to you and, what you were doing. And so let's talk a little bit about that. So your business is ImprovEQ. Let's start with the EQ. What does that mean?
Yeah, so EQ, literally it means emotional quotient, and it's just another way that people kind of measure and think about emotional intelligence, which is just how we understand, recognize, and manage our emotions as well as the emotions of others. So that's really important to all of us, but especially for business owners, people who run a team, is because humans are emotional creatures. So people are going to come to work with emotions. And so, I think that's a really antiquated way of thinking, that people will like check their emotions at the door and then walk in like robots. Like we're not robots, we're human. And so people need to understand how to work with emotions and how to use relationships to really help everyone move towards the goal of the business. And so that's EQ.
No, that's so interesting. You're so right. I think before we went live, and actually before you joined us, I was sharing with Juan how I was feeling about some certain things that were just going on, that were leaving me a little bit. I feel a little down today, as we go through this, and it has to just do with what's going on, and which I appreciate. I really try to make sure that everyone knows we're spending a lot of time together, whether it's virtually or in person. So it's okay to share as much as you want about how you're feeling, so that we can continue to do the work, right, that we need to do. But for you, and understanding that and dealing with that, how did you decide that this is something that, I'm so interested in this, that I think that I want to move forward and create a business around it? When was that, kind of light bulb moment that felt like this, I'm on to something?
Yeah. Well, and the other part of my company, the improv part, right? So I use applied improv, which is just, theater without a script. And so I've been performing for 16 years.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, so I've performed
So did that
all
come
over the
first
country.
before the EQ, or?
It was kind of happening at the same time. Yeah. So
Okay.
I got my degree in psychology, and I was working in mental health as a trainer, and in crisis work. So there was a lot of emotional intelligence that was part of that, especially I ended up training a lot of people who were doing the crisis work. So helping them kind of manage, because it's hard to like show up and,
Yes.
deal with other people's like heavy stuff. So that was always happening and then that was my 9 to 5. And then nights and weekends, I was, doing comedy and stand up and improv.
Yeah.
And I just kind of realized pretty quickly that this idea of applied improv, which other people do, applied improv, applied theater, applied arts, it helps people think about how to do different things. And I always say to people that, this idea of improv is for everybody, because life is improvised, right? Like nobody this morning woke up and got a script of like, oh, here's how this day is going to go. Like we're all making it up. Right. And so to learn how to think about it and do it like a professional improviser, these tools are valuable for everybody. So that's kind of how it came together. And it kind of happened for me organically. I was just, doing my trainings on mental health and bringing some improv and some games and things together. And it kind of was like, oh, this really works. And it was helping people change their mindset, which is a huge thing, to get people to just kind of have these moments of like, oh, okay, like, I can think a little bit differently about myself. I can think a little differently about how I hold these relationships, a little bit differently about how I motivate my staff. And I was like, I was kind of hooked. I was like, I need to keep doing this.
No, that's so cool that you were able to like marry these two, your strengths together. I long ago, I guess, I actually took a lot of drama classes when I was in college. And so I'm fascinated about the fact that you put these together, because oftentimes people will ask me things, well, how did you get comfortable on a stage or speak? It's just one of those things that I always tell people, well, if you met my mom, part of it is just inherent in me. But the second part was from taking all these courseworks and just doing improv and having to come up and suddenly have to create something right from a piece of paper that said, gave you a scene to have to do, right? And so I think it was, for me, I find that it really equipped me well for a lot of leadership things that I hadn't thought about in a long time. And so here you put it together, these two pieces. And so you put this together, you have the improv, the EQ, fits very well because it gives you that opportunity to kind of expand how you're thinking and what you're doing. But tell me about like what it was like. Now it's your business. So that very first time you're putting it together, I mean, it's new, right? So what did you feel? What's that first time you're coming in? Here's my business, ImprovEQ. You're my first client. Go.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I was so excited, like, because I was like, this is really good. Like, this is going to help you. Like, I knew it in my bones. And so I was just super, super excited. I think what I learned along the way is that, your excitement doesn't always make it clear to someone else what you do. And so I had picked something that was like, really cool if you understand how it works. But on the surface, people were like, you're going to make us tell jokes to each other. We don't want to do that. And so I had to really like, think about how am I communicating what it is that I do. And so, but I mean, I think I've been excited the whole time I've been doing it. I absolutely love what I do, and it's been really honing the messaging of like, so people understand it, because I think that happens for a lot of small business owners, especially if you're in the service industry, where it's not like a physical product, it's like a transformation that you're giving people.
Yeah.
Being able to communicate that clearly is, it takes a little bit of practice, but luckily, like with improv, you like, I got the confidence to try. I'm like, okay, that didn't quite work. Let me tweak it. Let me try it different and come back and do it again. So.
So with this, I have to ask, so are you still doing the improv? Are you out there entertaining, performing, and doing that piece too?
Yeah, I'm still a part of a group here in Sacramento called the Masters of Rap Improv.
Oh, okay.
So we do a monthly show. And we just did our first show that was like live with an audience. The whole audience was masked, which was a different thing. I've never performed for a masked audience because you can't really see them enjoying the show. But I just trusted that I could hear the laughter. I'm like, okay, we're good.
Good.
But yeah, so we rap, we freestyle rap. We ask the audience, what's something you don't hear people, rap about?
Yeah.
And then we just rap, and then you take these raps, and then we make scenes, and then we come back to rapping, and it's a super fun show, and I love it a lot. Yeah.
That's
so
amazing.
I'm still performing.
So did you pick this up, growing up? Is that you always like wanted to, to entertain and perform and bring people together, or is it something that came to you later?
Honestly, I think always it was there. Like right now, when you said, if you met my mom, you'd know. I'm like, yeah, I feel that also for me. Like, yeah, no, it was just always like performing and was happening at my family, and we'd be at church, and my mom would always be like, "Mija, go sing a song, go, go praise the Lord." And I'm like, oh, okay, like I didn't know what that was gonna do, and just went with it. So I think I was always kind of, I don't know that I would have had another choice but to be a performer, like.
That's so great. It's good to know that, that you were supported along the way to do this, and then you were able to combine that love, into this business. So speaking on the business part of it, you kind of alluded to part of it too. You have to tweak the messaging and make sure that people understand, what your business is about. We were fortunate because we had you in January, lead a session for one of our meetups, because I wanted, people to feel more connected virtually. And I have to tell you, Betsaida, people were so impressed with what you're able to do just, virtually, that we're very anxious to bring you on board, when we're in more of a physical place to, to do that. But I heard from the businesses that were there, and certainly my staff that was, in it, that they were like, wow, very loosened up. And I think that actual particular meetup went exceptionally well, because people felt this comfort level of everyone, doing something that they were all connected to. So what else do you do, for you to kind of build your business and let people know what you're doing, and what else do you do behind the scenes to make sure that you're going to have, a strong business that continues to grow?
Yeah. So I think one of the biggest pieces has really been, and thank you for that, because I had so much fun, like getting to run that. And, and I think in the same way that, getting people to connect, it really comes to just kind of putting yourself out there a little bit, right? So that's kind of what I was able to do with that group, is I had everyone kind of, get just a little bit uncomfortable in a safe space, right? But then you're kind of connected and you're bonded because you had a lot of fun. And I think that that's true even for me as a business owner. I'm always trying to practice what I preach, and to get a little bit, to be okay, like finding ways. I'm like, okay, if I'm a little bit uncomfortable, that probably means I'm growing and I'm doing the right thing. So I try to remind myself that, I got to get out there and, make those connections. And people don't always know what you're doing if you're not willing to talk about it. And that's the thing. Like, I think I've always tried to be like, oh no, don't tell them, they don't need to know. Nobody's asking me. So like, be quiet. And as a business owner, like, we can't afford to be quiet about the things that we're doing, especially because we all get into this work because we know that it has an impact. So you have to be willing to get a little bit uncomfortable and share that with the world and say, hey, I'm here, here's what I'm doing. And I'm not forcing anybody to join me, but I'm letting them know, here's what I'm doing. And if it resonates with them, they will connect. And that's the big thing I think that I had to really kind of keep pushing myself to keep doing. And I'm thankful for the chamber, because you guys make it really easy to make connections. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is really nice. But yeah, just in every way that I can, just keep making like just meaningful connections with people, and not have it be so transactional. If you get to know somebody, don't worry about if they're going to buy from you or that sale. That's so later. It's just build real relationships, and then it comes. Yeah.
Oh, and then for you too, Betsaida, when you do the work that you do, do you do everything from like one-on-one to larger groups? For you, like what does a client base look like?
Yeah, I love working with teams and creating like team building, trust building strategies. So kind of like that when we'll work with a team, but I also do like leadership or management coaching. And my niche really is middle management, because they're the group that has to be the most flexible, because not only do they have to show up as a leader and manage their team, they also have to be the ones to communicate in two directions. So they have to be really flexible. So a lot of what I teach about being kind of that modern, flexible leader really applies to middle management. So yeah, runs the gamut.
So what do you think too, Betsaida? We've talked about so many things, in the past, year and a half, and there's certain topics, that rise and all of it. And one of the biggest ones is our mental health, right? We've talked about, kids and, distance learning and maybe missing out on that connection, you got in school. For all of us, you and I, we're both sharing about, our family outings have been a little bit smaller to make sure we stay in pods so people stay safe. But for the work that you do, it seems like it's actually also very tied to mental health. Like it could be something that's very unknowing to people when they come in and, have you come in and do this work with them, that they could also be benefiting in this other way, right? Because maybe it allows for a conversation that, needs to be had, but hasn't happened before. So how do you feel like your work, kind of contributes to this topic of mental health and, in a positive way?
Yeah, such a great question. One of the biggest things that is happening for a lot of people out in the working world right now, especially because of COVID and people who are just all of a sudden everything about their schedule has been completely changed, but they're still like supposed to keep going like it's kind of normal, and it's not normal. Nothing that has happened is normal right now. And so people are kind of trying to figure all of this out. And one of the things I see a lot is just the levels of burnout that people are experiencing. And the cure to burnout is connection. And so to be able to do this kind of work that I do, that is really about connection, that is really about trust building and relationships, is really helping people. I know, because it is the opposite of what burnout is. And all of the mindfulness that goes into kind of like what I'm training on, it's different than like going to a yoga class, but it is still very much about being fully present. But then you get a laugh, and that's also stress relieving. So there's like a lot of mental health benefits to the kind of work that I'm doing, even though it's not specifically mental health training. We get a laugh together. We get to remember that we are connected, and that we really like bring forward our humanity versus that that robot part that I talked about, right? And so that's all really, really helpful for people. And I think it's always been necessary, but it's especially necessary right now.
I so agree with you. I love what you said, how the key, to kind of getting through the burnout is a connection. And I think how true that is, that once you realize that other people are feeling the same or going through something similar or just kind of in that state, too, that connection is kind of what starts to help you find a way through it right now. So I think that's so key. For you yourself, though, there's a lot that goes on. Your work is basically making these connections, building the relationships. How do you fuel yourself? Like, what do you do to keep yourself going, in this work, and make sure that, you can continue to be that connector that you need to be, both, for the success of your business, but also just, in general, for you, we talked about like a lot, heavy weights that come through, but yours, even with the laughter, there's a lot that comes through of, with connections. So what are you doing for you to make sure that that's, being fueled?
Yeah. And so, I have like a toolkit that I use for myself just to stay like, in my wellness, right? Because I'm a big believer that you can't pour from an empty cup. So if I'm showing up, like I gotta have, something to give. And so I really do take good care of like myself. One of the things that I try to do is I get my support. Like I have my connections. Just I don't. I'm over the part of my business, and I know I did this because I was part of the Emprende program too that you guys did. If you're going to talk about that, when I first started, I think I had this kind of like, oh, I'm going to do it all by myself. Like I'm going to, this puffed up attitude that I got over pretty quickly and recognized that that's not sustainable. That like I need to have my people, I need to have my support system, and I have the people that I can like call, that I can connect with, that I can be like, hey, like I need like a couple minutes to talk this thing through. I have this idea, I have my people. And I also, and what's cool about being online is that sometimes your people don't even have to be like in your same city now.
Yes.
Like you can find your people. Like I have people, in like Minneapolis that I've connected with, people in Atlanta, in LA, and I'm like, oh, this is really cool, in San Francisco, because we just find each other online because we care about the same kind of things. So that's been really huge, is just knowing who my community is. I'm grateful. I have an incredible husband who's like super supportive. So like he's, that's that's hugely helpful. And then I have a therapist that I see and that helps kind of like just talk through things, and I just think I worked in mental health for so long that getting support and help is the biggest part of like managing your wellness. And there's no shame or stigma in that for me. Is like find your support system, and then know the things that you need to do to take care of yourself. Like I know I journal, I know like if I don't drink enough water that I show up in a different way, like just all the things to take care of yourself so that I can be my best.
It's good advice for everyone right there. And I think it's important that, for business owners, when they hear to say that too, that we need to make sure that they're taking care of themselves too. There's so much responsibility that comes with being a business owner, whether, you're a sole proprietor or you have other employees that are going through. And you're very right. We all are, when we're fortunate to have a partner that supports you in kind of what sometimes it's kind of crazy, chaotic world that we're bringing them into. You mentioned that you were one of our students that went through Emprende here at the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber. So why don't you share a little bit what that experience was like, for you and what you got out of it?
Yeah, I got so much. It was wonderful working, so closely with David to create my business plan. Like I kind of knew what I wanted to do, but not on the level of detail that we got to like create. And so it made me really sit down and ask some very serious questions that were necessary to like set up my goals for my business and to get clarity. It was, I'm not going to lie to you, it was work.
Yes, we always tell people we have the programs, but there is going to be a lot of homework. Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't just like happen. Like I was like, oh, you're not just going to do this for me? Like, come on. No, I had to do this work myself. But no, it was incredible. I mean, that it was the really a strategic way to like sit down and focus and get clear. And then that it was something that you just offered, I was like blown away, honestly, that it was just available was insane to me, that it's just a program that you offer. And I was like, this is incredible. You guys are awesome.
Well, we're glad you took advantage of it. We really want to make sure we're of service, and especially during this time, right? We've had these programs here a long time, but we wanted to make sure that also that people realize, well, we're slowing down a little bit in this capacity as a business owner. This is a good time to take, advantage of these and really come in and do exactly what you did. What is my business plan? What does that look like? And, what are the goals, to continue to grow the business. So, and I appreciate that you said, yes, there is homework involved. Every time we connect someone to David, who's our small business manager consultant here that we have at the Sacramento Hispanic Chamber, we always say, you're going to do some work, but it's going to be very worth it. And I think for those of us that maybe have, been out of doing outlines and set and really having to think about the goals, but have it concrete down, it makes a big difference, especially, during this time as we've been moving forward through everything. So for you, Betsaida, what do you, for other people that are maybe thinking, hey, I have this idea for a business, it's a little different, right? Because to be honest, when you look at yours, which is, so valuable, to team building and to teams and to people to really, get them to think outside the box about how their, their leadership are working together with other people. But, we can really look at it, I'm sure at some point people were like, that's a different kind of business there when you're putting it together. So for other people that are probably putting something together and thinking, I don't know, is there a niche? Is there something here? What advice would you give to that?
So I would say if you believe in something, like that's where it starts. Like you have to be someone who like believes in what you're doing. And then the second piece I would say is then talk to people. Find out who it is that you want to be, supporting and serving, and then go find those people and have conversations with them. Find out what it is that they are looking for. What do they need? Because it helps you understand how you can be best of service and if what you're thinking aligns with what they need. And a lot of times people will just give you that language and help you understand exactly how to show up and support them and serve them. So yeah, don't like sleep on your idea.
Yeah.
No one will ever know unless you like, put it out there, which comes back to my other point from earlier, like
advice.
Yeah.
So for you, Betsaida, so if someone wanted to reach out to you, especially after hearing you and seeing how amazing you are and calm, by the way, right? So there's two things. If they want to reach out to you for your, to get to your business and want to work with you, what's the best way to reach out to you to do that?
Yeah. So, my personal website is BetsaidaLeBron.com, which most Wednesdays I do an improv drop-in. So people who are interested in kind of like, what would improv teach me? Like that's at Wednesdays at 7 p.m. and it's virtual. So it's a safe and totally low pressure environment. It's not scary at all. I take care of everybody. And then for kind of the business and the team strategy stuff, that is ImprovEQ.org. So and I am also on LinkedIn. Betsaida LeBron, you can find me pretty easy. I love connecting with people on LinkedIn. I'm, always sharing some things, some helpful tips and strategies there as well.
So I just want to, also say I follow you on LinkedIn and actually do get a lot of good tidbits from you that are really helpful. So, and sometimes you don't know it, but I'm like, oh, I really needed to hear that today. So I would also encourage other people to follow you on LinkedIn. And, but I want to make sure though, too, that you also share again. So, but your improv side, now if someone wants to come and see you and your group perform, where can we find information on that to come and support you?
Yeah, I think the next show that I'm doing is going to be September 17th. But I will have information on my personal website, BetsaidaLeBron.com. So definitely check that out. And on the 21st, which follow me on LinkedIn, I'll give you more information. I'm going to be doing a totally free workshop on just how to help your team show up. So if you are a manager or small business owner that has a team that you're supporting, that'll be a totally free workshop that I'll be doing on the 21st of September.
Perfect. Betsaida, this has been so great to have you here and learn a little bit more about you and your business and your improv, right? Which I know are both connected, but separate like identities that you have, right? Too. So we're excited to come and support you on the improv. And as I said, we at the Chamber are also going to bring you in to help us do some team building too with our boards and our team here. But it's been it's such a pleasure to get to spend this time with you. And and have you just hear a little bit more about you. As I told you at the beginning, our time always goes by so quickly from here. But just, we've had people comment in here, and I do want to share those with you here. So we had from Maria Lupe Leva Amenero, excellent information. So there. And then Ken Macias, who actually was one of our former board chairs and a business owner himself, is over. So I want to share his too, because I want to say hi to Ken. Thank you for watching us today. He says, having a high EQ is an indicator of a good manager. I know that they are teaching EQ and MBA programs. Thanks for having this topic on this week's meeting. And Miwok Nation says, greetings. But I wanted to let you know that people are commenting and sharing information about what you're doing. And it's great. I'm really glad that people are talking about these topics. I think when we think about our predecessors and when they're thinking about management and teams, it was a very different mindset. But coming in and remembering that it's about relationships and connections, and that we want everyone to feel their full authentic selves when they walk through the doors, and having someone like you to work with is just vital to all that. So thank you so much for joining us today. For everyone that was watching us, we will have this on our Facebook Live, so you can watch it again. And also you can reach out to Betsaida directly, and we bring her into your workplace virtually if need be. And when the time is available and safe, you can bring her in, I'm sure, physically too, right? So you can do some work that way. So we appreciate you coming here today and watching Juntos with Cathy. We're here every Thursday and talking about different topics, information that we think be of interest to you, but also just so that you know more about our businesses, our community, and the partners that we have, and how we're all working together to make Sacramento just a little bit better. Here's the PSA that I've been sharing with everyone. We are in a time period when we were hoping to be a little further along in recovery through COVID than we are, and things are slipping back just a bit. We represent businesses. We're a business organization, and our business recovery is really dependent on everyone holding themselves accountable to do what they need to do to make sure our businesses continue to stay open and continue towards the recovery that's desperately needed. Our economy really depends on it. So I'm asking you, if you believe and are able to take advantage of the vaccination that's free for everyone right now, that you do that. If you have other reasons that you're not able to, that you please wear a mask wherever you go. It's important for our businesses that they're able to continue to do the work they need to. Our businesses are supporting their families. So here at our chamber, we don't just see businesses, we see the families that we support. So please keep that in mind when you're out and about, that we need everyone to do this together for us to get through it. So with that, thank you so much for joining us this Thursday. We will see you next week for Juntos with Cathy. Thanks, and have a good day.